Hello, welcome to the Catapult podcast. I'm here today with Maxine Lister, or Max, who's head of licensing for the Natural History Museum. Max, thank you for coming onto the podcast. You've got so
Pleasure.
much to talk to us about. I'm so excited. As we always do with all of our guests, we need to do a quick fire quiz so we get to know
Go
you a
for
little
it.
bit better. So here we go. Based on the fact that you're from the History Museum, we
hmm
want to know, do you like getting hands-on or exploring with your eyes?
Hands on. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm an ex artist. I'm a photographer. So for me, it's about experiencing it for sure.
Amazing. Does that mean you've been told off from touching
No,
artifacts in
no,
the
I'm,
past?
I'm good. I'm good at the museum. So I'm good. Nobody will say that I've been dabbling where I shouldn't. That's fine. So yeah.
Fantastic. Visiting alone or visiting with friends?
With friends, I think so sharing an experience is really great. For me, sharing an experience is always, I feel you get more out of that. You can discuss, you can get different viewpoints. I think that's what's really interesting about it.
Coffee and cake or afternoon tea?
Well, as we have an afternoon tea licensing program with the Royal Lancaster London, I have to say the afternoon tea. Very good, by the way, so people should go and check it out. It's a beautiful tea.
Hope the blue whale or Sophie the stegosaurus?
Both are really special to the museum. I mean, Sophie, up until recently, was the most complete skeleton anywhere in the world. And obviously, Hope is just amazing as a shout out to there being hope to actually help stop the eradication of species. So they're both very special in their own way. But I would say Hope only as you walk in through that main hall, Hinsey Hall, and you see her suspended from the ceiling, I think is just a amazing piece of architecture and a beautiful narrative that goes with it.
And finally, what is your must-buy item from the museum retail?
That's hard. We have so many beautiful things in the retail store at the museum, but probably it would have to be a dino plush, surely. You know, we are the home of
Should
dinosaurs, so it must be.
Fantastic. I went through a fad. I remember as a child collecting rubbers when we
Really?
was going on school trips. Yeah, that was kind of like the thing that we could get
Yes,
with
that
my
pickup
pocket
point.
money.
Perfect.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure I've got them somewhere.
You probably have. Some of them probably worth quite a lot of money now, so, keep hold of them. You never know.
Yes, yes, there we go. If there's a rubber collector listening, then come to me. Fantastic. Okay, so let's speak a little bit about the Natural
hmm
History Museum.
Yeah, sure.
Really amazing news that you've been announced as the most visited attraction in the UK.
It's the most visited museum and family attraction, I believe.
Amazing. So, give us an introduction to the museum and
Yeah.
why you think the popularity has really tilted in your favour this year.
We're really excited to be number one. It's a huge achievement with everybody that works in the museum, obviously the front of house staff, security, everybody goes into running a museum. I think we're just about to wait for where we place for the global listing as well. So that's quite exciting. Obviously, museum was built in 1881. It's Grade 1 listed. It was built as a cathedral to nature. So that's why Hinsey Hall is the way it is, and that's why the architecture is the way it is. I think it's an amazing example of Victorian architecture in itself. It's a beautiful building, obviously well known around the world. And we have one of the largest, if not the largest, collection of natural history specimens anywhere in the world. So we have 80 million specimens in our collection. So they're housed obviously at South Ken, our main building. But obviously we also have a second site in Tring in Hertfordshire, which is also our museum. So some of our collection is there. And then we have an off-site facility as well. We have 350 scientists on staff. So they are actively researching and trying to find solutions to the world that we're living in right now, and also trying to create advocates for our planet, and which is one of our strategies for the museum. So we want to help create a planet where people and, everything thrives together, and the planet thrives. So a lot of our scientific work is based on doing just that. It's a very busy museum in that sense. And the collection is amazing. You can walk around and spend hours in our museum. It's a vast place. Our visitor numbers increase because people are more interested in the natural world in that sense. I think we've had some great exhibitions, which obviously helps as well. We have at least 3 exhibitions a year. We've done amazing pop-ups over the last few years. And obviously, Pokemon pop-up this year was a really great success.
Amazing. Yeah, I just love some of the outreach beyond a traditional museum that you guys have been doing. I was going to reference the Pokemon, a wonderful IP
Mhm.
partnership that has clearly flourished
Yes.
and brought in a younger generation as well. And also the silent discos. I mean, I love a disco. But but yeah, at a silent disco in such an institution, the amount of noise that literally and metaphorically that I've seen around that has been really good. And
Yeah,
to
it's
come
so
back,
popular.
yeah, I'm not surprised. And I think, to come back to one of the points you made about the wider world, I think within the cultural zeitgeist is that nature is important, and we've not only lost touch with it, but we've lost the ability to know what had gone before
Hmm.
because of living in a very modern world, modern society. And I feel like there has been a switch over the
Hmm.
past 6 or 7 years. And I wonder if you've seen almost a visit by the guests being part of their need to do something for this world.
Definitely people, I mean, we do a lot we have a free exhibition that is on at the museum, which is about the planet, the state of the planet right now, and also what our scientists are working on as well. So we bring that science and what our scientists are doing straight into that space. And it's free to enter. So again, anybody can walk through and learn something, but also we give them tips about what they can do in terms, it's the small things. Small things do make a huge difference if millions of people are doing it. So, it's not necessarily always about the big approach. And we kind of replicate that a little bit in our licensing program as well, to be honest. So obviously we are founding members of Products of Change, which is a licensing industry forum for both brand owners, licensees, retailers, manufacturers to actually get together and look at how we can be more sustainable as a business, as a global business. So that's very, very useful for us. We learn a lot from that and we have great connections with that. So, on all our packaging, we think about how can you recycle it? How can you reuse it? Can we make it reusable? Can we make, the inside of the packaging a colouring in page if it's for a kid's product? So I think there's different ways that the museum again touch on this. And I think people appreciate that, the storytelling we can do, whether that's inside the museum in an exhibition, like fixing our broken planet, or whether it's on our packaging or just details of what materials we have used to actually create that product in the first place, or how you can recycle it, or even just a link back to our website where there's loads of information on the website as well. So I think we try and touch people in different ways, in a sense, in terms of their knowledge base. We try and help them, but not in a way that feels like they're being forced to make decisions. It's about just giving them,
Absolutely.
you've got to just give them the knowledge and then people will
Mm.
decide what they can do.
Yeah, fantastic. I think there's an element of people not wanting to be preached to as well. I think
Absolutely. And I completely understand that.
we've moved past that, haven't we? And
Yeah.
as much as I'm not a big lover of this word, but edutainment is the
Yeah.
idea of,
Yeah, absolutely.
you can still learn whilst you're having fun. And
I think that's really
if
important.
that could be packaging, but that could also be an exhibition as well.
Yeah,
And you know if people leave with just learning one fact, or maybe they come away and say, I'm actually going to change this in my everyday life, then it's done its job, hasn't it?
absolutely. Absolutely. And it is those little pieces that all then link together to make a big.
Wonderful. Now, this is really interesting for me next. So I was going to ask you about your responsibilities at the museum. Seeing a history museum as an IP is a slight curveball compared
Yeah.
to TV content or kids' IPs. So I'm really fascinated to know how you've approached it and what you've found on bringing the history museum not just into IP in general, but potentially into themed entertainment as well.
We're quite a small team, so there's four of us, and that includes me. So we are a tiny, tiny team, but we're very nimble. So, we can pivot, we can work quite quickly if needed. We're all very passionate about the brand and actually making sure the brand is also protected and that we are keeping true to the ethos of the Natural History Museum, as well as being a commercial entity in the terms of being a licensing program. My remit is global, so I don't just work in the UK. We look after all of the global remit, which obviously is quite a big job, but a very exciting job, to be honest. I think there's a lot of opportunities for us still within the UK and also wider. And obviously, we do the usual licensing categories. We do apparel, we do gift, toy, paper products, we do all of that. But LBE and location based experiences, I started to develop about 2 years ago. It's been a huge growth over the last 3 to 4 years, with more and more IP being involved in it. But absolutely, as you say, very much character IP based. I'm ex character IP based in terms of what I've done previously. So I can completely understand why that makes absolute sense. But I believed and firmly believe that there is a place for heritage as well and other IP. LBE is a storytelling tool like any other licensing program is. And obviously we've had some success already. We've got a theatre show that actually started touring last year. So that's actually had 70 locations both last year and this year. So we're hoping to
Amazing.
move that potentially out into the wider world as well. We think there's much more we can do. We have something launching in October, which we can't talk about yet. And obviously, we're actually working with you guys as well on a light trail proposition, which is really exciting. I think also one of my remits and what I always want to do is surprise people in terms of what it could be. I think it would be very easy for everybody to assume we would do dinosaurs every single time because obviously we're known for that, but we have 80 million specimens and a hell of a lot more stories to tell. So for us, we want to widen that approach. And obviously, what we're doing together is really exciting because it's not necessarily what people would assume, but it's a
Mm.
really compelling and interesting opportunity.
Thinking back to the initial meetings we had, I think we was kids in a sweet shop going, "Oh my god, what stories do we actually
Yeah.
tell? You know, what would be the most amazing way to sort of bring the history museum to life with surprise?" You know, I
Yeah.
love that. You know, really surprising people in terms of
Mm,
what could be created. So yeah, it's been incredibly exciting, and yeah, can't wait to see it
I
in
know.
reality soon.
It will be
Hopefully.
amazing. It will be amazing. And I think from that, we're kind of always looking not only at, the UK base, but also wider. And in terms of where else could we go? What else could we do? So we're always open to look at any opportunity. So I think theme parks are really exciting, are really interesting. I think that whole area is really, really interesting for us.
So, okay, moving on to
Mhm,
another question then. So, some would say that you have a unique approach to licensing.
mhm,
I think we've already discussed that already. You obviously don't have your own character that
mhm.
you'd traditionally be
Yes.
able to hang your hat on. How have you managed to manifest the museum into an IP, considering the 80 million artifacts and the abundance of stories that you have? How have you managed to almost bring that into, one umbrella to be able to
Mhm.
then license out?
I think knowing the collection is really, really important because obviously you have to review the collection to figure out what is relevant to a licensing program because a licensing program is very specific. It's about building product in one way or another, whether that's like trail or it's a t-shirt. It's still a product that you need to have assets for. So when I first got to the museum 10 years ago, the first thing I did was try and understand the museum as a whole. We're very lucky. We have a photography studio in-house, so we did have some good assets to start with from an image bank point of view. And then obviously we explored the libraries that we have and pulled out artwork from there that we knew would be able to tell stories or be really interesting. And then on the back of that, we then started working with design studios to create bespoke licensing assets as well based on the museum collection. So everything always goes back to the museum collection, whether we use the specimens or the artwork as the reference material for that style guide. We will go to our paleontologist to make sure it does look correct. So we still always keep that ethos of making sure that we keep back to the museum in some way or another.
Even just thinking about the apparel or some of the home furnishings. So
Yeah,
I have an ottoman that's
from our
the
collection.
it's from your collection, and it's the hummingbird one. And if you
Thank you
remember
for your
that one,
purchase. We appreciate it.
you're welcome. Anything that helps. But I think that, and there's so many other examples where you've been open to a little bit of creative license within your products, experiences, live shows. It doesn't have to be the minutiae detail of a specimen. It can be a creative interpretation of it
Yes.
because coming back to what you were saying earlier, it's about the outreach. If that's your one point of contact that then puts people in touch with the natural history
Mhm,
or even triggers a visit, it's done enough to get people
mhm.
into the factual world.
Absolutely. And we approach adult and children's very differently as well. So with adults, it's more about the aesthetic of the product. It has to look beautiful because if we want people to buy our products, they have to want to own them. So our first aesthetic is it beautiful? Will people want to buy it? And the second read could be it's the NHM, but the first read is would somebody want this? Is this a beautiful product? That's really important. And we can be very creative with the adult product because we can pull together different artworks, different specimens, and create something quite bespoke for everything we do as well, which is really lovely. And then with the children's, we always want it to be fun, even though we always layer some education within our children's products. It can be very soft touch and light touch.
Well, it's worked on me very, very various amounts of times.
Good.
So, so yeah, there we go. Target market. That's who you're talking to. I- Thinking about the licensing experiences that you've
There's a lot. 10 years in, it's quite a lot. I think we've had a lot of great collaborations and partnerships and licensees who've created beautiful product. I think there's one that kind of started us on a path that helped us grow, which I think was the Farrow and Ball paint range. That was done a number of years ago now, and it was supposed to be 6 colours, and it became 16 colours quite quickly. And it was based on a book within our Red Book library that I just happened to walk by a desk and see one day. So literally, right time, right place.
That's
Opened it,
fantastic. Yeah.
and looked at it and went, this could be a paint range, and decided that I wanted to go and obviously have a conversation with Farrow and Ball. Obviously, a great UK British company, very sustainable in what they do, but also quirky when you think about their paint names and things like that. So we knew we could do something really lovely with them. And we were very lucky that they were on board and wanted to do it. So, and I think that showed in terms of us moving out of what was probably what everybody expected us to do. We moved into paint.
I'm just looking at some of the names now. So
Yeah.
Broccoli Brown, that's
Broccoli brown.
definitely up there. Ultramarine Blue, Imperial Purple. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
I can see that without the photo. Scotch Blue, Emerald Green. I love the fact that that is such a great collaboration, and
Yeah,
it's
it
bringing
was
History
wonderful.
Museum literally into people's houses, which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
And we did a photo shoot. We did stopgap animation inside the museum. I mean, Farrow and Ball really supported the actual activation itself, which was amazing. And I think that helps cement us in licensing as doing something a little bit differently.
Speaking about going further with some of the
Mhm.
licensing deals, what would success look like for the museum in terms of a licensing perspective in 5 years from now?
We'd want to be the number one UK museum brand in licensing. Obviously, that's a goal, for sure. I think we'd want to continue to create amazing products like we're doing now, not only in the UK, but wider. We've already got agents in some territories, but in the next 5 years, I would see that opening out to more territories, to be honest, because I think that then opens up so many doors for everybody. And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. That sounds a wonderful 5 year vision to manifest. A final question from me, then, Max, which is what one piece of advice would you give to others starting their journey in either the leisure or the licensing industry?
I think understand where your strengths lie in terms of the brand so that you know what narrative you're trying to tell. I think everything in heritage is about the storytelling of that particular institution or museum or gallery or the artwork. There's always a story behind it. So I think really understanding that and having a very clear strategy about how you're going to then create that to be a commercial opportunity. Because there is work that you need to do to make that happen, I feel. And I think just really be mindful that it takes a long time. I've been, at the museum 10 years and, it's a constant evolution and it's a constant step back and reevaluate the strategy yearly to understand whether it's still the right thing to be doing or if circumstances changed or, does the outlook change? So I think, understanding that it's not an instant win. You have to work very hard. So slow, steady growth is sometimes the better way to look at it, to be honest.
Wow, that's more life advice, I think.
There you
But I'll
go.
take it.
Happy to help in any way.
Yeah, you've given me a scripture to put on my wall. Thank you. That's very inspiring. Well, Max, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. It's been lovely to speak to you. It's been great to understand the museum, the licensing deal, obviously tease out the work that we've been working on together
Yes.
with the light trail. And hopefully soon we can get you back on the podcast to talk about more stuff because this has been fantastic.
Yeah, I would love that. Thank you for inviting me. It's been really fun.